The 960th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Underdog is hooking up new customers. Play just $5 and get $100 in bonus funds when you sign up with promo code MMA SGPN.
Howdy ho, Degenerinos. Welcome to episode 960 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to I'm already mispronouncing words. Dedicated to Breaker Wannabe, one of our friends on YouTube who Chalk Donkey Casual Parlay came through for Cage Wars 196. So this goes out to Breaker Wannabe, who has a picture of a woman as their profile picture, but we know that's not the case. We know he's a man, because when you have men that watch and listen to us.
That's not true. There's some women.
Occasionally, we haven't had one for a while. So someone come out of the woodwork and say, "Hey, I'm a woman. I listen."
Breaker Wannabe. Do you think that's the what was her name? God. Did you watch the Olympics last year with the breakdancing competition and the lady
maybe
who did like
that
the
might be who the picture is. You're right.
The Australian lady.
Yep, that could be who the picture is.
Yeah, maybe that's who it is.
Yeah, that's our
Raygun. It was Raygun was the name.
It was, yes. That's our breakdancing expert, Gumby Reeland. He knows about MMA too, luckily. I am Michelangelo Colangelo. You may know me by a previous name, my government name, Jeff Fox. Today, we got some LFA to cover. LFA 223. We always love to cover LFA, and LFA's got a belt on the line too here, which is good. Gumby was at LFA last weekend. How was that? Fun experience, but not the greatest with your bet. I think is the breakdown of that.
I love being at live fights. The prelims were a lot of fun, but like the main card kind of sucked, which I don't usually say about LFA, but like, you know, the Giannetti fight got called in the early parts of the second round because he got like jabbed in the eye. It was like real gnarly. The Aline Pereira versus Naira Rep fight, I was like, well, that'll be fun because they're both a couple of strikers, and like Pereira spent like the whole fight like holding Rep against the cage and stomping on her feet, and that was it. That was like her only offense. And and like anytime they were at distance, she kind of got tagged a bunch, and so like I was like already annoyed because it was supposed to be a fun fight and then it wasn't. And then on top of that, she was like, Dana White, sign me. And I was like, you're 2-2 and you just foot stomped your way to a victory against a regional like flyweight. Like, no, the answer is no. I don't care who your brother is. The answer is no. And so like that wasn't fun. And then the main event was like real hard to watch. It was like colossally boring. I didn't get the pick rate either, which kind of sucked. But like I said that the champ, you know, as long as he can shoot those body lock takedowns, he should win. And he must have listened to me and decided that was the only thing he could do. Wasn't allowed to punch, wasn't allowed to do ground and pound, wasn't allowed to finish any of the body lock takedowns he started, but he definitely got in on them. And so it was really hard to watch. So, you know, there was a couple exciting fights in there. Nate Garib looked really good. And, you know, there were great knockouts on the prelims, but in terms of like the action and the actual fights, a little light on that.
But them's the breaks. But like you said, it's always fun. LFA puts on a good show live too.
Yeah, and if you go to you know, I had somebody hit me up, Twitter or Discord, I can't remember, YouTube might have been even, who said they were going out to the ones in Niagara Falls. You know, fun venue to watch fights at, very intimate, very close. Not a bad seat in the whole thing. In fact, I was like standing up against the back wall for a while, relaxing, and you could still see everything really well. And when I went there. And I would heavily suggest, if you're looking for a place to eat dinner, go to their culinary institute. That's awesome. Yeah, culinary institutes are where it's at. There's one in Niagara Falls, and it is very good.
We'll tell you all about that very, very shortly, because we're going to dive into LFA 223. First reminder, get every episode of every show in one convenient feed. Search SGPN on your favorite podcast app to subscribe today. All right, of course, we were talking about LFA 223. Francischinelli versus Piersma, Niagara Falls, New York, at the Seneca Niagara Resort and Casino. That's the venue Gumby was speaking of. It's going down this Friday, 7:30 p.m. So we've got you 3 events now on Friday that we've covered for you. So it's going to be a busy Friday for you, Degens. 13 fights on this card. Gumby's picked out the 5 that he likes the most, and then we got plenty to choose from, or he has plenty to choose from more precisely for the lightning round. Good fight card, right?
Yeah, I like this one a lot. Yeah, there's fun prospects who are up and coming, guys who just like need to turn that corner, which is fun. A couple of guys who just got booted off the Ultimate Fighter by the same exact fighter, which is kind of random, but they were squaring off. So yeah, a lot of fun fights on there.
Starting with a welterweight main card fight, Farman Hasanov. He's from Azerbaijan. Abdurakhman Fazilov. He is from Uzbekistan. So a couple fighters from far away fighting in Niagara Falls. 170, as I said. No odds yet, but very easily and readily available for LFA. Fazilov will tell you about first. 6-0, 1 knockout, 4 submissions. This is his debut in LFA. He owns his rounds. He's 2 straight fights. He's won via finish. He used to fight at 155. Hasanov is 3-0 with 2 knockouts. He's 2-0 in LFA. TKO win in his last bout, 1-0 as a pro grappler, 2 years younger than Fazilov, 3 inches taller.
Yeah, so I think Hasanov is going to be the favorite here. Obviously, with the records being where there is, like, yeah, I could kind of see the line being pretty close. So I'm going to say Hasanov like negative 165-ish. And the reason I like him, he does a really good job of landing his right hand. I'd like to see him set it up with a jab more than he does, but like, he does sort of wing that right hand in a way that finds the mark more than it does it. And, at this weight class on the regional scene, you don't see a lot of guys with too nuanced of their stand-up game yet anyway, especially when, it's not their forte, right? Like, their forte is clearly grappling. So if you watch Hasanov in the grappling too, he's fought some pretty good competition, and you see he gets to the hips well and he finishes well. Again, like, if I had a critique, I'd like to see him control the hips a little bit more once he's down. He likes to open up with the ground and pound, and sometimes you can kind of see his opponents getting away from him. So, on the feet, would like to see more combinations and stuff like that. On the ground, would like to see more hip control. He's sort of buttoning both of those things up as he goes, but those would be his flaws. On the Fazilov side, like, this is his first fight in the States, if I'm not mistaken. He just got his visa to be able to fight for one of these types of promotions. Getting a big chance here. But the problem is if you've seen the regional fights he's had, the competition level is like very low. And I do mean like very low, like to the point where I've watched his striking and I'm like, man, it's working in this fight, but I don't think it's there yet. You know what I mean? Like, it seems slow, but it's still hitting the much slower guy that he's fighting. And the combinations come kind of clunky, and sometimes his punches look like they're a little heavy on the arms. And then in addition to that too, like, from a grappling standpoint, I think he's just so used to fighting guys who have no chance of taking him down that his takedown defense has sort of gone to the wolves, right? So like, if you watch, man, I think it was 2 fights ago or 3 fights ago, I found film on him, and his opponent drops down and gets to his hips, and then just like doesn't have the slightest idea what to do with that. Like, he winds up falling to both of his knees and getting squashed. But like, Fazilov like didn't react quickly to somebody getting to his hips. He sort of just let him get there and then was like, haha, puny human, and then just like pushed him down. And like, that's great, and it's good that it's worked so far for him. But like, Hasanov is just going to plow through that then. Like, if you let Hasanov on your hips, he's going to take you down. In that like approach where like, I don't really have to react to what you're doing is obviously like problematic as you get higher and higher in MMA. It's like the next guy you fight is going to punish you for that. The guy after that's going to punish you worse for that. And like, I'd like to say Fazilov seems to be learning, but it almost seems like he's learning bad habits in that. Like, he does not have to worry about people getting to his hips, and now he's going to fight a guy who can, and I think will take care of him. So give me Farman Hasanov here, probably slight favorite.
All right, you got it. All yours. All right, we're going to women's strawweight next. Jayde Sheeley, United States. Aline David it's probably David from Brazil. 3 5-minute rounds, 115. Tell you about David first. She's the Brazilian brat. 3-1, 1 knockout, 1 submission. She's been submitted once. 2-0 over her last 2, both via finish. 4 years younger than Sheeley, an inch taller, 6-inch reach advantage. Sheeley is 3-2 with 2 submissions. She's been knocked out once. 3-2 in LFA, a 3-1 over her last 4. She did lose her last bout. She's fight at 125. She's 0-1 as a pro grappler.
So I'm gonna go with Aline David. And I think she's gonna be a slight favorite. I don't know how much though. Both of these two were like hyper prospects once upon a time, and like kind of have lost a little bit of their luster. Like, I think this is a really high level MMA fight right here, if I'm being completely honest. Despite it, what is it, 3-2 versus 3-1?
Yeah.
I'm worried that the 3-1 record against the 3-2 fighter is going to catapult her to an area where I don't want to bet her. My guess is where I would line this at. It's like negative 155 for David. She's a much better striker than Sheeley, like substantially better. She's coming off of like a 14-second front kick to the face knockout, which was really fun to watch. But like in general, her striking sharp. She's low in her stance, which is going to be good against somebody like Sheeley, who likes to wrestle and likes to get in on takedowns and has good jiu-jitsu. But it makes her quick when she's boxing. So Aline David is she's really sharp, like the grappling game, physically strong, which I think plays in here. Because Sheeley, on the other hand, she's one of those grapplers who you can like tell her when her brain switches to grappling. Like she's clearly trying to sell herself as a well-rounded mixed martial artist, and I'm boxing and I'm good at boxing, and she's improving every single time out. I'm not like hating on her boxing skills, but like you can see she's put a lot of work into her boxing, and then you almost see like, okay, I've shown them that I can box. Time to switch back into what I'm good at, which is takedowns and grappling. And when she does take you down, she's very good on top. My question just is like, what happens in those first 3 minutes when she decides to strike with somebody who I think is a much better striker in Aline David? And then in addition to that too, like when she does change modes, what's to stop David from just being like, okay, well, I can tell she's trying to grapple now. We'll just stay away from that. Like we'll move away. We'll pick and move until she's back to striking. And so I think between that and the physicality that I mentioned for Aline David, I just think Sheeley is probably not going to be able to get enough takedown time and enough control on bottom or on top rather to find a submission or win rounds. And even if she does win a round, I think she's probably in danger when the next one starts on the feet. So I'm going to take David here. I would say that if she does wind up north of $2 bills or something like that, I'm probably not all that interested in her at that price. I do think Sheeley's tough enough that like you probably don't want to get in on her at a big price here.
95% are in on David, so could get up.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a shame. Like Sheeley's good. Hey, maybe there's the flip side of it. Like I'm picking David to win this fight. If she's like a 4-1 favorite though, or something like that, the dog money on Sheeley's there. I don't know if I'll get around to it. Like it'd have to be a pretty big number for me to get around to it, but like she'd definitely be a value play there for pizza money.
There you go. All right. Before we get you some more winning plays, let's tell you about Novig. We're brought to you by Novig. It's Novig. Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market. Novig, you're getting the best prices because they have reduced juice on bets. Novig is available in 35 plus states. Download the Novig app and get $50 when you spend $5 if you use our promo code SGPN. Get in on the action with Novig, promo code SGPN. And Underdog. Underdog is your home for pick-em entries where you can win up to 5,000 times your play. Gumby's got to play for you right now.
Sure. Tuesday basketball, we got the Jazz visiting the Lakers down in it's the Staples Center. I'm still going to call it the Staples Center.
Yep.
It'll always be the Staples Center. And I'm going to go with the higher than on Lauri Markkanen's points. This guy's been shooting the lights out lately. Put up 40 on the Hawks the other night. In a loss, granted, but 40 against the Hawks. Hit 35 the game before that. Lakers, they're not too sharp on defense, even though they're winning. This could turn into a shootout, and if it does, I think Markkanen's going to put up a bunch of points. So give me the higher than of Lauri Markkanen's points.
All right, so take that and take Underdog's brand new offer for new customers. You can play just $5 and get $100 in bonus funds when you sign up with our code MMASGPN over at Underdog. All right, we are moving on up the card. We're at 155 now. Kyle Pufahl versus Steve Collins. Both of them good nicknames, both of them for the United States. Scuba Steve, of course, is 5-0 at 2 knockouts. He's 3-0 in LFA. He's 2 years younger than Pufahl. Do you know who his first pro MMA belt was against? Gumby, Scuba Steve.
Steve Collins?
Yep.
Was it Kelton Sneeve?
Nope. He did fight him.
He fought Kelton Sneeve, though.
Yeah. No, the infamous Raja Jackson was his first fight.
Oh.
Both of their first pro fights. There you go.
He might be in prison.
Yes, the embattled. Do you know Pufahl's nickname, Gumby?
Poof,
exactly. Yeah. Poof versus Scuba. Poof is 6-2 with 4 knockouts. He's been submitted once, 1-0 in LFA. He's won 5 straight fights. He used to fight at 165, 3 inches taller than Collins, 6-inch reach advantage. So he is massive.
Yeah, I've seen Poof fight a couple of times. Here's the thing about that 6-inch reach advantage on Poof, though. it would work so much better if he struck with the intention of going from his body to the target and not taking the detour all the way around everybody. Like, he just throws these big, wide arm punches, and it's like, dude, just stick a jab in somebody's face for once. Because like, if you got a 6-inch reach advantage over somebody like Scuba Steve Collins, who is, by the way, so talented. Like, I'm really big on Steve Collins. Like, I think he's a real prospect. Not just the 5-0, but like, he gave Kelton Sneeve his only loss. He might have lost one since then. He gave him his first loss at least. And he's sharp on the feet. He's quick. He's fast. He's one of those guys who's his best speed is that he like gets into range and then gets out of there, so he's not hittable. It's not even that he like enters range really quick. It's that he exits range really quick. And I really, really, really like that about him. So, I'm a big fan of Steve Collins. Actually, you know what might be one of his better attributes too is when somebody does get a hold of him, the way he digs an underhook and changes the position and puts you against the cage. Like, he doesn't instigate a clinch all that often because he is so fast on the feet. But when somebody gets a hold of him and is trying to slow him down, he's like, that's fine. And he digs an underhook and he puts you against the cage and hits like 13 straight knees to your thigh. And like, yeah, it's not the most exciting part to watch, but like, he's just reminding you like, hey, don't clinch again because you're going to get stuck here. And that allows him to open up with his hands more often later on because the guy is in, I don't want to go back to the clinch with a guy who just beat me up against the cage after that. So I like that about Steve Collins. And again, with Pufahl, like you said, he's on a great winning streak. He's really started to put things together. He hits hard, but just like the way he hits hard is not fast. He's not quick to the target. He's got these big arm punches, and yeah, he generates a lot of power with them sometimes, but you sort of have to sucker somebody into having a brawl with you for those to work, or you have to back them up into a corner and have them like trying to fight their way out or just like letting you tee off on them. And like, that's not who Steve Collins is. Like, Steve Collins will not give you that kind of fight. He is going to fight his kind of fight, which is quick and dynamic. And I don't think that bodes really well for Kyle Pufahl. So I'm going to go Steve Collins. If I had to guess a line here, again, he's got some kind of prospect luster on him, so that'll probably bump up the number a little bit. Pufahl is on a 5-fight winning streak, though, so I'll say like negative 230 on Steve Collins.
All right, Scuba Steve is the play for tour co-main event of the evening. Jeff Creighton, United States, Diego Bianchini from Brazil. They're fighting at welterweight, 3 5-minute rounds. Bianchini is a Brazilian bad boy. So we have a Brazilian bad boy, a Brazilian brat. We had another bad boy a couple of days ago. Nicknames are all coming together. This Brazilian bad boy is 9-1, 1 knockout, 6 submissions. He's never been finished in a fight. He's 1-0 in LFA. He won his last bout via submission. That was back in March of 2024. He lost about March 2023. 0-1 on the Ultimate Fighter. Regional champ, 2015 pro MMA debut. A year younger than Creighton, an inch taller. Jazzy Jeff Creighton. 11-2-1. 1 knockout, 5 submissions. He's been knocked out once. 1-0 in LFA. He's won 6 straight and gone 7-0-1 over his last 4. He lost about August 2021. 1-1 in the Ultimate Fighter. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get our shirt, get our merch, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. 0-1 in Cage Warriors. Used to fight at 155.
So I think Creighton's going to be a big favorite here. I originally was like, they kind of lost the same way on the Ultimate Fighter and to the same guy. It says Anando who beat him, right? Both of them.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, who lost in the finals. But like, I was like, maybe they lost both. But like, Creighton seems to have like a lot of prospect hype, and there seems to be a lot of hate on Bianchini. And you also mentioned Bianchini had lost somewhat recently, right? Like, he's 1-1 in his last 2. It is one of them. So I went back and I watched that fight because I was like, does Creighton have what the guy who beat him has? Because that's a good way to handicap, is like, be like, what was his last loss? Has he fixed that thing? And is the guy he's fighting able to do it? I went back and I watched. Do you know what the guy who did beat him laid on his back and got punched in the mouth and somehow won a decision? Because I watched that fight and I was like, how does he lose this fight? And I kept asking myself that. And then I kept going back to the Tapology page and being like, did he fight this guy a different time? Because maybe this is the first one and he loses the second one. And I just kept like flipping back and forth between Tapology and YouTube. And then the fight ends and I was like, okay. And then they read the scorecards and it was like his opponent won. And I was like, I have no idea what those judges were doing. It was very, very odd. But like, I'm going to go with Bianchini here as probably a sizable underdog. I'll say like 2-1. And the reason why is like, first of all, I like his jiu-jitsu game better than I like Creighton. Creighton's kind of like a grinder. He likes to bring like a, try to make it nasty, but also like in the fight with Cezinando, like maybe didn't do really great at holding position, seemed to wear a little bit. Bianchini is like, how do I want to phrase this? He's stupidly flashy, like flashy in the worst way possible. But for some reason, I just like feel like enough of it will work against Creighton, because Creighton is like, I think a grappler first is the best way to think about him. And like, even when he's fighting, he'd rather fight you in a phone booth than like from range. And Bianchini does a good job of keeping range. He's always had good jiu-jitsu. I think he performed worse on the Ultimate Fighter too, because he didn't have his coach around him. And like, I don't think he did really well with the coaching he was getting on the Ultimate Fighter. And then when you send him back to Brazil to work with the fighting nerds, like, you have to imagine that's going to work out a little bit better for him when he gets back in the cage. So I'm going to go with Bianchini here. Hopefully, sizable underdog.
All right. Lock it in. The Brazilian bad boy Gumby has. All right. Before we get to main event and lightning round plays, let me talk about Rhythm. RATHMM. Rhythm is crushing it in college football, NFL, and now just added the NBA. Rhythm is also giving away weekly cash prizes just for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same type from any model you build, and you can win $1,000. Gummy's going to give you a bet right now to make.
We just talked about the Jazz and the Lakers on Tuesday. I mean, I'd take anybody to beat the Jazz at this point. They look like they don't want to win ever. I don't know if they've got a guy who they've got their eye on in the lottery, but they're definitely heading towards it. So I'd take the Lakers laying whatever points you want to lay against the Jazz.
All right. Use promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for 25% off your first month. Download Rhythm, RITHMM, and use promo code SGPN25. There's a top prospect just down the road from them at BYU. Maybe they got their eyes on him.
BYU's kind of fun. I know they lost to UConn this weekend, but they're a threat. I think they only lost to UConn by 2. So like that's a good squad right there.
Yep. Utah hotbed for basketball, apparently. We got LFA vacant welterweight championship up next. Why did it get vacated, Gumby?
Shahid Khan Magomedov, who we talked about last week as part of our UAE Warriors 65 breakdown. He was actually one of our lightning round picks because weirdly, at least before the fight, was not listed as one of the top fights. They did eventually shift him a little higher up in the card, but he got signed to UAE Warriors and vacated his LFA title.
All right. So
he was also on that same season of different season.
Different season
of the Ultimate Fighter. Different season of the Ultimate Fighter. He was on the Ultimate Fighter season that had Ryan Loder win it. Okay. I don't know if he was in that division though. No, probably not.
It all comes back to tough. So the main event, 5-minute rounds, 170 pounds for the belt. Luis Francischinelli versus Jonathan Piersma, Brazil versus United States. You can figure out who's from which country. We'll tell you about Piersma first. Warhawk, 10-3 with 1 no contest, 3 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's been knocked out once. 0-1 in LFA. He's won 4 of 5. Submission win in his last bout. He went 0-1 on the road to UFC. He has got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get our shirts, get our merch, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. 2-1-1 as a pro grappler for Piersma. Francischinelli, 5-0 with 5 knockouts. All those fights taking place in LFA. He used to fight at 185. He's 7 inches taller than Piersma, 11-inch reach advantage. That's not a typo. All right, over to you.
Yeah, he's weird looking. 6'6", 170. Looks like a damn praying mantis. It is a wild look for Francischinelli. 5-0. Everybody's hyped on him. I got to imagine massive favorite, right? Like negative 450-ish. And I'm going to take Piersma. I'm going to take a dog stab here at Piersma. Piersma just keeps proving people wrong. And granted, you mentioned 0-1 in LFA. If anybody remembers that fight, they can remember it because it was in Niagara Falls. I was at it. It was the main event against Devin Smythe. Not the best prospect in the world. Some reason took a spinning heel kick to the brain, like no time in, got knocked out. Very surprising. 0-1 on road to the UFC. Really unfortunate for him in that case too, because they put him against this hot prospect from Russia or Dagestan or they found like a really good prospect. They needed to see if they could get him a win on road to the UFC, and Piersma was kind of like the sacrificial lamb. But the reason I like him against Francischinelli is like Francischinelli, I mean, being 6'6", wiry as all hell, super talented on the feet, loves to throw the elbows, works the kicks in there. Very, very sharp in terms of his boxing, even just pure boxing, not even working in the kickboxing. He's dangerous. And obviously he's fun to watch because he's a weird shape and nobody's used to seeing a guy who looks it's very Kendall Grove-esque, except for this guy might be skinnier than Kendall Grove was, because Grove was an 80 or 85, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he's the same height as Kendall Grove, only 15 pounds lighter. It's like it's real weird. But like he really sharp, really good movement on the feet. I like the angles he cuts. Like he is a prospect in every sense of the word. He's a prospect. But Piersma is just like, he brings this level of grind that I don't think Francischinelli has ever seen anybody like that. And I don't think he's ready for that. Like, what is he going to do if Piersma just like pushes him against the cage? Like, he's really good from range. He's really good with his kicks. He's really good using a really long jab, but you can't do any of those things when he's on top of you. So what is his out there? And I haven't seen really enough of Francischinelli to like him in those situations. And in every fight Piersma has ever been in, even the ones I just mentioned that he lost, he brings that style. Like he gets to the grappling if the fight's longer than 2 minutes. Like he's gonna get in on people. Like he actually he was briefly the Cage Titans champion at welterweight. He beat Jack Congdon, who was on Contender Series. And what he did was he was just like, this guy's a really good striker. I'm just going to suffocate him. I'm going to be all over him. And he, levied some gnarly ground and pound, was like all over him in the clinch up against the cage, and just like zapped him of all of his energy and just like brought him into a bad place, deep waters, and drowned in him. I think he could do the same thing with Francischinelli. And especially if we're going to find 3-1 money or 4-1 money on Piersma here. Yeah, of course I want that. So I'll take Jonathan Piersma.
All right, Warhawk, it is. Let's give a recap, and then we'll get you some more bonus plays. He's got Piersma, he's got Bianchini, he's got Collins, he's got David, he's got Hasanov, and he's got lightning round Zap and Boom Pow.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little deeper with the lightning round on LFA just because there's so many names on the prelims that I saw and I know and I like. That I mentioned him at the top of the show, Kelton Sneeve, who had fought Steve Collins in the past, really fun prospect. He's fighting Kevin Carrier, who's actually another guy who, might have made it into a lightning round at some point in time. He's like a fun prospect, but I think Sneeve just got like the wrong kind of game for Carrier. So Kelton Sneeve will be one of my plays. I also like Jake Woodley. He's fighting Adlin Benson, who we've talked about before on this podcast. Another guy with a really weird shape. He's like a really tall dude, but Woodley is just like an absolute bulldozer when it comes to the takedown game. Benson has shown some real issues with his takedown defense, notably against he fought Party Time Schultz, and Schultz got him down pretty easily. I think Woodley's not as polished as Schultz, but has the right game to beat Adlin Benson. Hope Chase is on the card. I've always been a big fan of Hope Chase. She kind of seemed like a prospect before she took, Sierra Dinwoody beat her, and took a little bit of that shine off. But Hope Chase is another one. And then, no, you know what? I'm not even going to put that one on there. So those three, Kelton Sneeve, Jake Woodley, and Hope Chase. I was going to say Shaler Ladd. Shaler Ladd's fighting here.
Right.
He keeps winning.
Brother.
He keeps winning. I don't know if he's good yet. And he's fighting, is it Joe Taylor? Joe Taylor, who's I think 40 years old, but only has 6 pro fights or 7 pro fights or something like that. And just Joe Taylor always surprises me, oh, hey, he's a little bit better than I expected that 40-year-old dude to be. And then Shaler Ladd's the exact opposite. So it wouldn't shock me if this was Shaler Ladd's prospect loss. So I'm going to leave him off there. Sneeve, Woodley, Chase. Those are my lightning round plays.
All right. You're set for a packed LFA 223. You can get more of us in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord, or on YouTube, of course, MMA Gambling Podcast, or on Twitter, SGPN MMA. He's at Gummit Real, and I'm at Jeff Fox Writer, at Jeff Fox Writer on Instagram as well. Check out my Substack, enter my free weekly UFC Pick'em contest at moneymma.substack.com. Listen to more of Gumby interviewing MMA fighters at Top Turtle. Who are the fighters this week?
We're talking to Volkan Ozdemir right before he fights over in Qatar. And we're talking to Shannon Clark just as she came back from Brazil in her big title victory in LFA.
So check out Top Turtle. And of course, you can get more of us at sportsgamblingpodcast.com. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store for your merch needs. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon for some bonus content. We'll be back very, very soon. There'll be Jeff Poof Fox. Scoop of Vreeland. We'll talk to you probably tomorrow, maybe today. Who's to say?